A lot of pressure there. And like we talked about, we've seen a lot of missed serves here this week, MLP last week. And as we know, the serving rules are slightly different. And you're seeing, we're getting a little bit more creative with the serving rules, not being able to create movement or spin or anything with the ball, keeping it a little bit lower. So you're seeing a lot of players adjusting how they're serving and tweaking to still have an offensive serve. And I think it's been fun to kind of see those adjustments.
It's funny you talk about the serve, and last week at MLP, those PPA serve rules were not being enforced, and so Deckel Bar was able to kind of throw his serve up to get it back to its full strength, and it was something to watch.
Well, let me tell you, when I played Deckel yesterday in mixed, it's still pretty darn strong. I'm still going to say that he's got one of the biggest serves out there.
No one will argue with that.
It's because he's a big guy, so even though it's a low point of contact for him, it's still pretty high. Be super high for me. Of course. He's about a foot taller than me, so. And just well played point, obviously, from Ben Johns and Gabe Joseph had a great setup. And I think we talked about this in the last match. It's so easy when you have that kind of put away ball. He took his time, he placed it where he wanted, but then he just overshot it. And that's very easy to do when you've got the pressure of Ben Johns on the other side of the net.
Right. Kind of makes up for it there. Had a really nice two-handed backhand finish. Has some work to do here, though.
Absolutely. What I'd be curious about here is if Gabe, right there, he's just trying to drive past Ben and hit some passing shots. I don't know if that's going to work very much. I think it's going to be a little more beneficial to maybe try some of those drops and try to be a little creative in this singles.
It's funny because it sounds weird to kind of advocate playing cat and mouse with Ben Johns, right?
Yeah, right, yeah. And it almost worked for him.
Wow.
But the net love going to Ben Johns.
Nice finish from Joseph there. Still looking to get on the board here in game one.
Now that time it absolutely worked, and him taking a little bit longer to set up that ball, but it's got to be almost perfect to be passing Ben Johns regularly. But that does get the ball back in Gabe Joseph's hand and at 1-4, so that's getting better. And again, it's kind of that right idea, and you can almost kind of see Ben baiting him a little bit with that loopier, kind of shorter return, pulling Gabe Joseph into the net. And again, just a misfire when he had the opportunity.
I think it's really easy to kind of press, especially when you have those shots that you might be able to put away, but when you're playing Ben Johns, it just, even if the margins don't physically get smaller, but mentally they feel like it's so much smaller.
Absolutely. Again, we talked about this. It's not as big of a court as often people think, and so the court coverage of both players, but especially Ben, is tough to beat. There you go, and that's another shot that I think Joseph does really well. He's got a very good overhead.
Able to find angles on it and put it away, not go straight through the back of the baseline.
Yep.
It's an underrated skill. A lot of people will miss that, going for the angle.
Absolutely. Again, it's you can kind of see that Ben is leaving that forehand space open. He wants Gabe Joseph to go into that space, and like we said, it looks really big, but someone of that size, being able to kind of jump across the court, it does force him to make a much better shot. And that's that same forehand that he kind of keeps going for. It's such a different strategy. So every time Gabe Joseph is getting Ben at the net from the baseline, he's wanting to drive past him. But notice that Ben is drop shotting every single time. Instead, he's not driving past him. He's kind of hitting that intelligent shot and trying to get into that game that's comfortable for him and probably not as comfortable for Joseph. No, I like that one a little bit more. He took his time. He took that two-handed backhand, but that tempo is really key. Holding the paddle for a second before striking the ball, rather than just keep going on that shot, is going to mess up the timing of your opponent.
Nice sequence there from Joseph. Saw him go right at Ben Johns.
Mm-hmm. It's the first time we've seen that. Yeah, so it's a good changeup, I think. Can't pass him, go at him. Nothing wrong with that. Getting some net love for Gabriel Joseph on that one. I think they're 1-1 on net love right now.
It looked like, just from the way he made contact with the ball, it looked like he struck that one so well.
Yeah, I just think he uncoiled maybe a little too quick. He was a little too open when he hit that. It's again, it's kind of being like he's forcing himself to hit it maybe sooner than he needs to, and that's very easy to do. You got a lot of pressure on you. Probably need to take his time just a little bit more to set up for that one.
What a get from Gabriel Joseph.
And that's that example of his quick speed on the court, that athleticism that works very well for him.
So even if Joseph doesn't win this game, winning some points like that can definitely give him some momentum going into that game too. Johns is already at 9, so.
Absolutely. A little bit deep. You can kind of see just Ben Johns, we talked about, he's 2 matches later today. He is conserving his energy. It's he's moving a little slower. He's hitting the smarter shots rather than wasting too much energy until he needs it. Until Gabe Joseph puts a little bit more pressure on him, then he's going to just keep playing smart and cover what he needs to cover.
And so we'll see if Joseph can put together a few more good points on serve here that may help him, even if he doesn't win this game 1. Looks like maybe it was a mishit from Johns there on the volley.
Did, and it was a good setup. Joseph set his feet a little bit more, and like I said, he took his time a little bit more, but probably did not go the speed that would have assisted him a little bit. And that's just simple playing, essentially. But again, you're seeing Ben Johns he's just trying to drop those balls. He's not trying to do anything too special. He's just playing smart.
That one just a bit wide there from Joseph. Looked like he had a good crack at that.
Absolutely. just a solid serve. Easy. First game, 11-5.
And so we'll see if he can respond here in game 2. He's taking on the number 2 seed, Ben Johns, in the round of 16 here at the Vizzy Atlanta Open presented by Acrytech.
And again, he's going for that. He was successful in the first game going more at Ben's body, which I think is probably a good choice. Ben has such incredible reach and extension. It's deceptive for so many people. I like that little change up, a little shorter return. Again, a lot of times just adjusting the depth and the speed, those types of things is going to mess with the contact point of your opponent.
Can just give them a bit of a different look.
Absolutely. And like right there, you say, so what we're kind of seeing from Joseph a lot, he's getting the setups and then he's just rushing on that last ball. He did not have to be that close to the ball. He had more time, I think, than he gave himself.
Just the nice angled volley kind of opening up the court there for Joseph. Had a pretty easy finish on that backhand.
Yeah. And if he can stream a few more of those together, especially early on, then that can give him a little bit of momentum. Again, he kind of shaking his head. He lucked out a little bit on that one. And it does seem to be a better plan for him to be going a little bit more at his body. Again, incredible quickness. And that tendency for Joseph is when he's getting those short balls, he's going cross court a lot. I'd really like to see him maybe redirecting down the line.
Good depth there from Joseph, but we saw something in the middle of that rally we rarely ever see. I've never seen it. We saw Ben Johns hit a two-handed backhand drive. I feel like I don't think I've ever seen that shot.
I think I've seen it a few times, but it's definitely not used as much for sure. And that's, so all those shots now, Joseph, spacing is better, footwork is better, loading is much, much better. He's taking more time to hit that ball. He's just got to do that. And that's something Ben Johns does so well. He's so smooth and slow when he strikes the ball. So he sets up very, very clean. And so like right there, he's got the setup, but you can see he's pulling out of his shots a little bit too early. And I think that's the adjustment that Joseph has to really make. It's not like he's hitting the incorrect shots. He's just rushing and not getting the impact that he could have. Kind of like right there, he's running through that ball, whereas you see when Ben, he's loaded his legs before he goes. A nice open stance shot on average.
And the lefty, left-handed shot right in the middle of that point, but not able to get it done against Ben Johns.
That two-handed backhand in your toolbox. And right there, again, he's naturally going cross-court. And if he's going to hit those balls on a passing shot, he's got to take off more pace on the shot. And so it's fine to go cross-court, but if you're going too hard on that, then that just gives Ben Johns a volley. So that's when we're talking about that cat and mouse, hitting that softer dink. Well, when you're hitting that softer ball, a little frustration there from Joseph. Suddenly it's 5-2 now. But slowing the ball down is so important when you're trying to pass your opponent.
Looks like the timeout from Joseph kind of having the opposite effect of what he was going for.
Yeah. And it's not like he was in a bad spot. It was, he had executed some really good points, and I almost think the tougher thing for some players is how calm Ben Johns stays. He's just he's not shook by much, where that could be frustrating for a player. I know I hate to show my opponent's frustration if I don't have to. And obviously Gabe Joseph is frustrated right now. It's interesting with how slow Ben moves compared to Joseph. It's much more offensive, and it's harder to know which way he's going to move. Worked out a little bit, kind of even Joseph recognizing that, shaking his head. He gave Ben too much to work with there.
It did go in his favor, though, so gets the side out.
We'll take what we can get. Now that's a smart move, using his quickness to take that in the air and just try to take away that time from Ben Johns. Again, he's looking for it again. So if it works, use that as your momentum. He's looking to his team, kind of getting motivated from them, support.
It was good. He went at Johns again, and he got a slower ball, and he was able to take that one early and make it fast enough so that Johns couldn't move over and poach it cross court.
Absolutely. Yeah, what I like there is the timing. Joseph sat for a second before he struck that ball. Again, he loaded it a little bit longer. So he just caught the timing of Ben Johns forcing that error. And it's looking a little bit better for Gabe Joseph right now.
You got to hand it to him. It looks like, dropped those first 3 points coming out of the timeout, but then ever since then, something has clicked. Had a few good.
A couple things go his way, and sometimes that's all it takes. It's we saw it in our last match, singles match, and that's the third time Joseph has made that play. But it's very easy to kind of get caught up in things, but. A lucky shot or something, a net cord, once it goes your way, sometimes that's all you need for a little bit more hope and momentum.
And the deficit cut to just 1 here in game 2. Johns puts that one away and just walking gingerly over to get that ball, and no rush.
Mm-mm. And look at that. I kind of like that return again, kind of a loopy high return just changes Ben John's contact point. So that passing shot that he's going to go for, so he's going to bounce a little bit higher. So Gabe Joseph setting himself up a little bit better. And again, using his quickness to take time away from Ben Johns. And that is the first time we've seen frustration out of Ben Johns.
If both players agree, but it doesn't look like it's to that point yet.
Yeah, and that may not be the frustration of the ball that he's talking about. And even so, and that's kind of, you've seen both these players have moments of yelling at themselves or, you know, whomever, and sometimes that's okay. It's kind of let out your frustration and move on, and both of them have been able to move on. And again, that's kind of just something that we've seen every time that Joseph, he just has a tendency when he's missing that ball to pull out of his shot a little bit too early. And I think that's just the. I am not going to repeat what they both said. I decided.
Smart choice. Nice run here for Johns.
And that's two just unfortunate returns from Joseph, giving Ben the match point. And I don't think Joseph has a timeout right now. And again, right there, it's kind of been what we've talked about Joseph this whole time. He's had the shots and the opportunities, but often he's just simply rushing the ball, and that causes him to overhit a ball that he really